Hey there! In today's video, we're going to be going over the 2022-2023 TMSCA General Math Regional Test. Let's do it. Alright, number 41. Steve and Joey are brothers. Steve can mow their lawn by himself in 50 minutes, and Joey can mow their lawn by himself in 30 minutes. If they work together, how long would it take the brothers to mow their lawn? Alright, this is actually a pretty simple problem. So with problems like this, where it's like this person can do this in this time, and the other person can do this in this time, how long would it take them to do it together? It's actually pretty simple to solve if you know like the format for solving it. So let's take Steve. So Steve can mow by himself in 50 minutes. We're going to call that 50 x. Okay, so 50 is x. And Joey can mow it by himself in 30 minutes. We're going to say 30 equals y. So the formula for finding how long it would take them together is just x times y over x plus y. So in this case, that would be 50 times 30 over 50 plus 30, which is just 1,500 over 80. 1,500 over 80 simplifies to 75 over 4. 75 over 4 simplifies to 18.75, and that's your answer. Next, number 42. Let s equal the sum of the roots of the quadratic equation 4x squared plus 28x, and let p equal the product of the roots of the quadratic equation 12 minus 2x squared. Find the value of p minus s. Alright, so the formula for finding the sum of the roots is negative b over a. And the formula for finding the product of the roots is c over a. Pretty simple. So let's take the first equation. We have 4x squared plus 28x. In this problem, 4 is the coefficient of x squared, which is our a value, and 28 is the coefficient of x, which is our b value. So to put this into the sum formula, it would just be negative 28 over 4, which is negative 7. So s equals negative 7. Now let's do this for this equation right here. 12 minus 2x squared. So 12 minus 2x squared. Alright, so in this case, the c is this 12 right here. So this is c. And the a is the negative 2. So c over a would just be 12 over negative 2, which is negative 6. Now we have to do p minus s. So we know that p equals negative 6 and s equals negative 7. So that's negative 6 minus negative 7. When you subtract a negative, that's just addition. So negative 6 plus 7, that's just 1, and that's your answer. Next, number 43. What is the inverse function of the function f of x is equal to 1 over x plus 2? Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify this to y equals 1 over x plus 2. That makes it easier for us to do. Now, how do we solve for the inverse function? So the first step is we have to switch the roles of y and x here. So the new equation becomes x equals 1 over y plus 2. Now, to find the inverse function, all we have to do is solve for y. So the first step in doing that is to get rid of this denominator over here. So we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by y plus 2. So we're just going to do this times y plus 2. So this is going to cancel out the denominator, leaving us just with 1 here. And this side of the x is going to become x of y plus 2x. And that is equal to 1, as seen over here. Now, we need to get just the y plus 2. So we're going to divide the entire equation by x. That leaves us with y plus 2 equals 1 over x. Finally, to get y by itself, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Subtract 2, subtract 2. That gives us y equals 1 over x minus 2. And we convert the y back to f of x. But when you write it as the inverse function, you would write it as f of negative 1 of x equals, and then our equation, which is 1 of x minus 2. And that's your answer. Next, number 44. What is the area of a scalene triangle with side lengths measuring 4 inches, 13 inches, and 15 inches? Alright, so to solve for the area of a scalene triangle, this is the formula. Area is equal to the square root of s, which we'll get to later, times s minus, and then we're going to write x, which is just like one of the side lengths, times s minus y, which is another side length, times s minus z, all under the square root. That would be the area of this triangle. Now, how do we find this s value? So we know our x value, y value, and z value because they already give it to us. X is 4, y is 13, and z is 15. The way we find this s value is just x plus y plus z divided by 2. So when you do that, that's 4 plus 13 plus 15, which is 32. 32 divided by 2 is just 16. Alright, so that means s equals 16. So when we substitute that back into the equation, along with the values of x, y, and z, we get area is equal to the square root of 16 times 16 minus 4, which is 12, times 16 minus 13, which is 3, times 16 minus 15, which is 1. Alright, so 16 times 12. 16 times 12 is just 192. So this is 192. 192 times 3 is just 576. And then times 1, it doesn't change it. It's just 576. So the area is equal to the square root of 576. The square root of 576 is just 24, which means the area is 24, and that's your answer. Next, if 2/3 of x plus 5 over 2 is equal to 3 over 2 plus 1/3 of x, what is the value of negative 7x? Alright, so we have this equation, 2/3 x plus 5 over 2 equals 3 over 2 plus 1/3 of x. Alright, we can simplify this. So if we subtract 1/3 of x from both sides of the equation, this now becomes 1/3 of x plus 5 over 2 equals 3 over 2. And then we can subtract this 5 over 2 from both sides to cancel it out. So minus 5 over 2, minus 5 over 2. To make it 1/3 of x is equal to negative 1. And why is it negative 1? Because 3 over 2 minus 5 over 2 is just negative 2 over 2. Negative 2 over 2, that's just negative 1. So 1/3 x is negative 1. Alright, now that we have x, we're still not done yet because we only have 1/3. We need to find what x is by itself. So to do that, we have to multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of x's denominator. So we multiply by 3, and we get x equals negative 3. Now, we're tasked with finding the value of negative 7x, which is just negative 7 times x. We know x is negative 3, so that's just negative 7 times negative 3, which is 21, and that's your answer. Next, number 46. If the solution to the system of linear equations, and then we have this system of linear equations, is ABC, then what is the sum of A plus B plus C? Alright, so this is actually a pretty complicated problem, but we can make it simpler. So what we're first going to do is we're going to take the first two equations. 3a minus b plus 12c equals 9, and 2a plus b minus 8c equals negative 10. We're going to take them and cancel out one variable. So let's try and cancel out the a. To do that, we're going to multiply both of the equations by 2 and 3, because that's basically just the conjugate. So right here, 3a minus b plus 12c equals 9 is going to be multiplied by 2, making it 6a minus 2b plus 24c equals 18. And then we multiply the second equation by 3, making it 6a plus 3b minus 24c equals negative 30. Now, we're going to take the first equation and subtract the second one from it. So that's going to cancel out these 6a's. Then negative 2b minus 3b is negative 5b. And 24c minus negative 24c, that's just 24c plus 24c. So that's 48c. And then finally 18 minus negative 30, which is just 18 plus 30, which is 48. Alright, now we have one equation. Now let's find the second one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the second and third equation. 2a plus b minus 8c equals negative 10, and 4a minus b minus 4c equals negative 8. So we're going to multiply the bottom equation, or the third equation, by 1/2. That makes it 2a plus b minus 8c equals negative 10 for the second equation, and then 2a minus b over 2 minus 2c equals negative 4. So now we can subtract the bottom equation from the top so that a's cancel out. B minus negative b over 2 is just b plus b over 2, which is just 3b over 2. And then negative 8c minus negative 2c is the same thing as negative 8c plus 2c, which is 6c, but negative 6c, so negative 6c. And finally, negative 10 minus negative 4. That's just negative 10 plus 4, which is negative 6. Alright, now we have two simpler equations with only two variables. So we can turn this into a system of equations. So right here we have negative 5b plus 48c equals 48, and we have 3b over 2 minus 6c equals negative 6. So to solve the system of equations, we're going to multiply this one by 8. That makes it 12b minus 48c equals negative 48. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just add these two together. So negative 5b plus 12b, that's 7b. 48c minus 48c, that's just 0. So these two cancel out. And then 48 minus 48, that equals 0. So 7b equals 0, which means b equals 0. Knowing that b equals 0, we can go back to this first equation of negative 5b plus 48c equals 48. If b equals 0, that means 48c equals 48. So c equals 1. Alright, so we know, let's write this up here. So we know that b equals 0 and c equals 1. So the final step is we're going to go back to the first equation, which is 3a minus b plus 12c equals 9. And we're going to substitute the values of b and c. So this just gets removed because it's 0. And then plus 12c, if c is 1, then this is just plus 12. So 3a plus 12 equals 9, which means that 3a equals negative 3. If 3a is equal to negative 3, then a is equal to negative 1. So a is negative 1. Now, finally, the question is asking, what is a plus b plus c? So b is 0, so it doesn't matter. And then 1 plus negative 1. That's just 1 minus 1, which is 0. So the sum of a plus b plus c is just 0, and that's your answer. Number 47. 18a to the power of 4 times b to the power of negative 3 divided by 2a to the power of negative 2 times b to the power of negative 5 times a to the power of negative 1 times b to the power of 5 over 3a to the power of 3 times b divided by 6a power 7 b power 5 over 2ab power 10. Alright, this is a pretty long problem, and like when I read it itself, right, you thought it was pretty long. But it's actually pretty simple to solve. So we're going to break it down one parentheses at a time. So we have 18a power 4, b power negative 3, and over 2a negative 2, and then b power negative 5. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is 18 over 2, that's just 9. Next, a power 4 over a power negative 2. So when you have the same variable on the top and bottom, you just take the difference in exponents. So you just take the top exponent minus the bottom one. So 4 minus negative 2 is just 4 plus 2, which is 6. So a has a power of 6. Then b power negative 3 over b power negative 5. So that's just negative 3 minus negative 5, which is negative 3 plus 5, which is 2. So b becomes power 2. Alright, so that's the first parentheses. Now we're going to go on to the second one. A power negative 1 times b power 5 over 3a power 3 times b. Alright, so first of all, you have a 1 here. You can't see it, but there is a 1 there. So we have 1 over 3. Then we have a power negative 1 minus 3. That becomes a power negative 4. When you have a negative number, you put that on the denominator. So actually, we have 1 over 3. So we're going to write it like this. 1 over 3 with the a staying on the bottom. So a power negative 4. And then the b. So b power 5 and b power 1. There's no power here, so it's power 1. 5 minus 1 is 4, so we're going to keep the b power 4 on top. Alright, so that's the second parentheses. Now let's move on to the third one. 6a7 times b power 5 over 2ab power 10. 6 over 2, that's just 3. A power 7 over a power 1. There's nothing written there, so it's power 1. A power 7 minus a power 1. So that's 7 minus 1, 6. So a power 6. And then b power 5 over b power 10. So 5 minus 10 is negative 5. So that becomes b power negative 5. So the b is going to go on the bottom. And that is the third parentheses. However, when you put a thing on the bottom, you actually have to take away the negative sign. So these two do not have a negative sign. So this is actually just a power 4, and this is actually just b power 5, no negative. Now that we know that, we can solve this. So 9a power 6 b squared times 1 over 3 b power 4 a power 4. Alright, so that's just 9a6 and then b, and so when you multiply the b's, right, the b power 2 and b power 4, since it's the same variable, you would just add the exponent, so b power 6, and that's over 3a power 4. So 9 over 3 simplifies to 3. A power 6 over a power 4, that's just 6 minus 4, which is 2, so a power 2. So this is 3 times a power 2, and then you still have the b power 6. Alright, so now we've simplified the first two all the way down to 3a power 2 times b power 6. Now we need to divide this by the third parentheses. We already know that the third parentheses is 3a power 6 over b power 5. So, alright, so now let's bring this over here. So 3a squared and b power 6. So that is going to be divided by 3a to the power of 6 divided by b power 5. However, before we do that, you know how we first took b power negative 5 and pushed it to the bottom? We're actually going to push it back up top again. And we're going to do that to make it easier to divide. So now when we take this, it's just 3a power 6 times b power negative 5. So that's 3a power 6, then b power negative 5. Now this is easy to solve. So 3 over 3, that's just 1. A squared over a6, that's a power negative 4. So that's going to go on the bottom, but it's going to be a power 4 because when it goes on the bottom, there is no negative. Now, b power 6 over b power negative 5. That's just 6 minus negative 5, which is 6 plus 5, which is 11. So b power 11. So the answer is b power 11 over a power 4. And that's your answer. Next, number 48. In the picture below, measure of angle A equals 5x minus 9. The measure of arc BD equals 9x plus 9. And the measure of arc CD equals 21x minus 23. What is the measure of arc BD? Alright, so when you have a problem like this is called the secant right here. So to find this angle, all we have to do is we have to take the measure of arc CD minus the measure of arc BD and then divide that by 2 to get this angle. And then once we do that, we can solve for x, which allows us to find the measure of arc BD. So let's do that. So first, what is 21x minus 23 minus 9x plus 9? So this becomes negative 9x, and this becomes negative 9. So now it's 12x and negative 32. So 12x minus 32. Now, since we have to find this angle right here, we have to divide this by 2. That leaves us with 6x minus 16. So that is equal to the measure of angle A, which is 5x minus 9. So 6x minus 16 equals 5x minus 9. So we can subtract 5x from both sides, and we can add 16 to both sides to make x equal to 7. Alright, now that we know that x equals 7, we're trying to find the measure of arc BD. BD equals 9x plus 9. So let's substitute 7. So 7 goes in here. That makes 9x is 63. 63 plus 9 is 72. And that's your answer. Next, number 49. Simplify 8 over 2 plus the root of 3. Alright, so we have 8 over 2 plus root of 3. So to solve this problem, we need to take the conjugate of 2 plus root of 3. Because if you have a radical on the bottom, this is not a proper fraction. So what we can do is, we can take the conjugate, which is 2 minus root 3, and we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by that value. So 2 minus root 3 and 2 minus root 3. So the purpose of a conjugate is, a number's conjugate is simply the number that, when multiplied by the conjugate, it's going to turn to 1. So 2 plus root 3 and 2 minus root 3 both simplify to 1. So it's just 8 times 2 minus root 3. Alright, so that's just 8 times 2, which is 16, and 8 times root 3, or negative root 3. So that's negative 8 root 3. And then over 1. But you don't need the over 1, because over 1 just divides it by itself. So we have 16 minus 8 root 3, and that's your answer. Next, number 50. What is the volume of the sphere with the equation x minus 9 squared plus y minus 12 squared plus z plus 6 squared minus 475 equals 219 with pi equal to 3. Alright, so the volume for the sphere is just 4/3 of pi r cubed. Alright, so we know that in this case pi is 3, so we just have to do 4/3 of 3 times r cubed. But wait, 4/3 times 3, that's just 4. So it's just 4r cubed that we have to do to solve for the sphere this time. Alright, but how do we find the value of the radius? Well, we have our circle equation. So whatever the circle equation is equal to, right, you're going to have the x minus some value squared, and then plus y minus some value squared, plus z plus some value squared. Doesn't really matter, right? And then you're going to have it equal to the number. So in this case, it's negative 219. Alright, now negative 219 would be the radius squared, usually. However, in this case, we also have the number negative 475, which is out of place. We need to add 475 to both sides of the equation to make this turn into 256. Because negative 219 plus 475 is just 256. So that means r squared equals 256. So r squared is 256, which means you have to find the square root to find r. Square root of 256 is just 16. So r equals 16. Now what we have to do is we have to plug in r into this formula. So 4 times 16 cubed. Alright, so 16 cubed is just 4,096. And 4 times 4,096 is just 16,384. And that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it.